All right, here we go. Our next video in the series. What we're going to look at today, again, just some more stoichiometry examples. We're going to add an extra fraction. So what we're going to be looking at is, with stoichiometry, going from moles to grams or grams to moles. So throwing grams back in, molar mass back into our stoichiometry. So a couple of things we need to remember that are going to be extremely important. Number one, we need to balance the equation. Number two, we need to work in fractions. And then if you can figure out number three, you're gonna have this easy, all right? It's when do I change the number of moles, all right? So anytime you use molar mass, that is 1 mole. So anytime you're using molar mass off the periodic table, you are going to use 1 mole. Anytime you are using the ratio, so going from A to B, then your moles equal your coefficients. All right, so again, molar mass, grams to moles, you're gonna use 1 mole. If you're using that A to B jump, then your moles is going to be equal to your coefficients. All right, so I sent you a roadmap. I walked you kind of through how to use the roadmap on a Loom lesson. I've posted 2 other lessons from another teacher, just like us, who is going through stoichiometry online. They're gonna do 1 set of questions where they go moles to grams with an example, a second set of questions when they go grams to moles. I'm gonna do 2 examples in this video as well. So I'm gonna do 1 going from moles to grams, and then 1 going from grams to moles. Okay, there's going to be a worksheet attached. Again, I will be putting answer keys, those types of things, but we're going to be working on these moles to grams, grams to moles stoichiometry for today as well as on Thursday. So 2 days to practice this concept. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with the balanced equation. I'm just using some examples from Science Geek. So they have iron sulfide, so FeS is reacting with hydrochloric acid, so 2HCl, to produce iron chloride, FeCl2, plus hydrogen sulfide, H2S. All right, so again, you guys will be writing and balancing your own equations on the worksheet. If you want to use Science Geek, the equations are already balanced for us. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be starting with 3.50 moles of H2S. So that's going to be our substance A, and we are going to be solving for grams of HCl. So we're going to be solving for grams of HCl. That will be our substance B. So it's still stoichiometry. I'm going to be starting with H2S. I'm going to be ending in HCl. Okay? Now, if you looked at that roadmap, the key part, if you're going to make the jump from A to B, you have to be in moles. All right? So they have the roadmap split down the middle. Moles of A is on one side, moles of B is on the other side. As soon as you are in moles, you are set. You are ready to put your coefficients in and make the jump from A to B. So I'm in moles, so I'm going to go ahead and make my jump from A to B, and that's using the coefficients. So H2S is on top, so I want H2S to go on the bottom. So for every 1 mole of H2S, I have 2 moles of HCl. All right, so I've now converted my units to moles of HCl. All right, and 1 is on top, the other one's on top, I would multiply. If I wanted my answer in moles, I'd be good to go, but there is 1 more step, and that is going from moles to grams. So starting with H2S, but then going to grams of HCl. Now, when I went from substance A to B, the coefficients were my mole ratio. But now I'm going to be using molar mass off the periodic table. So I'm going to go back to 1 mole. So for every 1 mole of HCl, I would just use the mass off the periodic table. So Cl, I'm just looking at a periodic table right now, is 35.5. H is 1. So I've got 36.5 grams of HCl. Okay? So I look and I retrace my steps in my stoichiometry. Moles canceling, leaving me moles of HCl, and then from moles of HCl canceling, taking me back to grams. Now I'm going to do the math. I have numbers on top, I multiply, I would divide if I have any numbers on the bottom, but I don't. So I would take 3.50, multiply that by 2, multiply that by 36.5, and the mass of HCl would be 255.5 grams of HCl. So if I started with 3.50 moles of H2S, I would end up with 36.5 grams of HCl. Okay? Or sorry, 255.5 grams of HCl. So I'm multiplying the top, dividing by the bottom. Okay, so I had a balanced equation, I worked in fractions, and then I looked at my number of moles. When I converted from substance A to B, I used my coefficients. When I went back to mass, I used 1 from my periodic table. Okay, so there's one example, and then I want to show you one more. So I'm going to get a new problem. I'm going to show you one more where you're going from grams to moles. So one more when we're converting from grams to moles. All right, so I'm going to erase this one. It's the same steps. So notice I'm not erasing my notes. All right, it's the same steps. So the first thing I'm going to need, and you're going to be practicing, is your balanced equation. So for this one, the equation is carbon monoxide. So CO is going to be reacting with hydrogen. And then that is going to be making a CH3OH. All right, so there's my balanced equation. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to start with grams. I'm going to start with 1.56 grams of H2. So that's going to be my A. And I'm going to solve for moles of carbon monoxide. So I'm going to solve for moles of carbon monoxide. That is going to be my B. Okay. Now, in order for me to go from A to B, again, if you look at that Stoich roadmap, in order for me to go from A to B, I have to be in moles. I'm not in moles right now. I'm in grams. So the first step, I'm in that upper left-hand corner on your roadmap. I'm in grams. I need to convert this to moles first. All right. So grams of H2 is on top. So grams of H2 is going to go on the bottom. I am using the molar mass off the periodic table. So it's 1 mole. So even though there's a 2 here, because I'm using the periodic table, it's 1 mole of H2. All right. So again, I would look at my periodic table. The mass of hydrogen is 1. So 1, I have 2 of them. So I'm going to have 2.0 grams of H2 to 1 mole of H2. So I've now reached moles. At that point, I can now make my A to B jump. So I cannot go into a mole ratio if I have grams on top, because if grams was on top here and I tried to put moles on the bottom, those units wouldn't cancel. So I need to make sure my units match up. But now that I'm in moles, now I can make my A to B jump. And I'm going to make that A to B jump using the coefficients. So for every 2 moles of H2, I have 1 mole of CO, leaving me in a final answer of moles of CO. Okay, if the numbers were on top, I would be multiplying. But since one number is on top, 1.56, I'm going to divide that by what's on the bottom. All right, and I'm going to end up with 0.39 moles of CO. So I started in grams. In order to go from A to B, I needed to be in a mole ratio. So I converted grams to moles. And then from substance A to substance B. Okay, so that roadmap is really going to be helpful. The only way to get better at this, honestly, is to do sample problems. So we're going to do quite a few. So this is the first kind of set of sample problems. There are other YouTube videos that have sample problems. And then on Thursday, basically that's what I'm going to be doing, is going through more sample problems, probably the ones from your homework assignment, from the worksheet that'll be attached. Go through some more sample problems so that we can get this down. Okay. Eventually, right now we're dealing with 3 fractions. So we started with 2 fractions. We've upped it to 3 fractions. Eventually we'll go 4 fractions. Okay, and we'll see if we can put it all together. All right, as usual, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to comment, send me an email, all right, and I would be more than happy to answer and get back to you. All right, have a good rest of the day. See you later. Bye.